Vinyl community, I'm back to do a recent Vinyl fans video. I just stopped recording my video about my friend who passed, and I figured that I'll do this one, a recent Vinyl finds video, but I'll only show you records from his collection that I have played. I've cleaned them if he didn't already clean them, and I have played them back to forth. No, start to back. I don't know the English word for it. And show you, just to give you a hint of what was or is in his collection. So these are from the Brink Collection, Lasse Brink. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I think over here or here, somewhere along that line, you can go and watch the video to get the background about dear friend of me who passed, and I was able to buy some records from his family and also some hi-fi gear. But yeah, let's get into it. So Lasse was a big Peaky Blinders nut, and I remember this is one of the last records that he got home. Actually, he ordered this and he talked about it at work a lot. He was really looking forward to it because he loved the music from it. I didn't have anything to really talk to him about this because I haven't seen the series. But this is actually the first record that I played when I brought the records here, because it was one of the last records that I knew he played on his turntable at home. And I fell in love with the music, just like I guess he did, but with watching the series. So now me and my wife have started watching the series. So we are at season 1. It's really good, but the music is better. Suits the sort of the mood of the series. Really good. Peaky Blinders. You have Nick Cave. Feels like a Nick Cave record, really, but yeah. And you have the White Stripes, Dan Orbach, yeah, PJ Harvey, Radiohead, David Bowie, yeah, Black Sabbath. So this is a 3 LP set, 6 sides of fantastic music. And it sounds great. For being a compilation record, it sounds really good. Next record that was in his collection was this one. This is Melodie Gardot, My One and Only Thrill. Really popular when it came out, I think. But I guess I've heard like one of the songs. Well, again, fantastic sound quality on this one. And Lasse was deeply into those sort of records where you had a great recording and great press. And he loved sort of women. Who doesn't love women singing, women voices? Okay, the next one was actually a record that I recommended to him when we were at a record store. And he got it. Now I still don't have it. So I recommended something that I don't own myself. I guess you can do that. This is Jazz Sabbath. They do jazz versions of Black Sabbath songs. I think that the pianist Milton Keynes has played with Black Sabbath when they reunited in a tour or something like that. And they did a spoof on Sabbath ripping them off in 1968. So they had all the songs, they played them like jazz standards, and Black Sabbath took those songs and made heavy metal versions of the jazz tunes. Really cool thing. Jazz Sabbath, highly recommended if you haven't heard it. They have recently released Jazz Sabbath 2 that I have listened to digitally. It doesn't sound it's not as good. It probably sounds good, but it's not as good as the first one, in my opinion. Lasse was a really big The Who fan, so I had to keep his original press of Quadrophenia on Track Records. Feels like a really sort of good representation of him. Now I had a reissue of this, so I'm selling that, or I have sold it to finance some of the financial hole that this investment brought. But I did manage to compare this first press and the reissue that came out 2007 or something like that, not sort of a anniversary or deluxe edition. And I have to say this one sounded better. Not much better, but it sounded better. It was a little bit harsh, the reissue, even if it sounded good. And just to give you an example of something that I would never add to my collection, but now I have. And it's also a proof of his sort of diverse curiosity for music. This is Run DMC's Raising Hell. I don't think it's a first press, but it's a pretty early one on London. Maybe it's a first press. And sound quality, fantastic. Produced by Rick Rubin. Has to be a pretty early one for him. And it has the famous Walk This Way, the collaboration with Aerosmith. But the entire record was really enjoyable. Really enjoyed it. And it sounded great. And all Lasse's records, he took care of his records. So even if they were put in a storage space for I don't know how long, maybe 5 years, 6 years, something like that, they are in immaculate condition. And most of the stuff that he has that are new is still in shrink, because he was about to buy sleeves for all his records. He had no sleeves, only used sort of dirty sleeves that he had for some of the used records. But he always talked about for the last years that he was going to buy sleeves. But he bought records instead. So when it came to gatefolds and stuff like that, he never opened the gatefold because he didn't want to take off the shrink wrap before he had sleeves. Now, I have a ton of sleeves, new sleeves. So also feels like a way of honoring him to when I play these records now, I take the shrink wrap off and put them in a new nice sleeve. Yeah, next one was one that he played many times for me at his place, and he also brought it over here to listen to my hi-fi equipment at my place. This is Chris Jones with Roadhouses and Automobiles. Sort of Americana country-esque record. Chris Jones died not many years ago, but so this is, I think, his last record. He released records since late 70s, I think, something like that. But this is on a label that is called Stockfish Records. And if you go and look them up, they are a German label. They release like audiophile pressings with their own house music. So I think that the artists are on Stockfish Records and they also press them. Sound quality, it's one of the best that I have ever heard. The details of the sort of voices and acoustic guitars, this is like a little bit like a country-esque Tom Petty. Just top notch all the way, 10 out of 10. Sounds terrific. Now, there are music on here that's not my favorites. It's a little bit honky-tonk at times, but some of the songs are really, really good. And it's nice to have that in the collection now, that I knew that Lasse was going around and trying out his and mine and other friends' systems on. Okay, the next one I'm showing because this is the one of the Clash records of his that I actually played. You are going to see more of them, but I sold this. I had this in my collection many years ago, but I sold it, and I've regretted it ever since. It's not a super hard record to find, but I've never stumbled upon one that was in nice condition for a nice price. So not expensive, not hard to find. This is in mint condition, like almost unplayed. He took care of his records. And to me, this is my favorite Clash record, hands down. So I have the other Clash records. I have no idea why I sold this. I think it was like in a trade I did, and he really wanted that one, and I thought like I could get it down the road, but never did. So this is the one that I played. It's still my favorite. Maybe my opinion will change when I play the other ones, but they had. But yeah, give him enough rope with the Clash, my favorite. Skål. Lasse was huge into punk, ska, reggae, you know, that sort of music. Not really my cup of tea, but I'm getting into it now. I'm starting to learn a little bit. And also, he had one of his favorite bands was Marillion. He had a lot of Marillion records for some strange reason. I also have Marillion records. I have this in my collection, and we played it. We have compared his copy to my copy. He had a reissue, like a new reissue of this, that we also compared. And this blew the reissue out of the park, but that's another story. Now, I'm going to sell my copy. And this copy has a bent corner. So even if my copy is in better condition, this is more Lasse. So I'm going to keep the worst one in this case, and it will never leave my collection. And sure thing, like this is a good record. It's just not, I don't hail it as much as, you know, average people do. And Lasse, we had some discussions about this. And if we go to his CD collection that I have just behind me, or at the side of me, he had not only, I think, all Marillion records, but also I think all of the Fish records. So as you can see, it's a pretty like diverse collection, and this is also one that he bought. Chet Baker, the trumpet artistry of Chet Baker, 1959, but reissued on Armitage 2019. And I don't think that they are known for their great pressings. And some of the records that he has bought has really surprised me. But when listening to them now, they sound great. I mean, I guess that original press or a new sort of high fidelity version of this will sound better. But in my book, this sounds good. So I don't have much Chet Baker. I'm glad that Lasse now lives in my Chet Baker collection. Talked about the Who earlier. This is also one that I've managed to play because I didn't have any version of this, and I've always wanted one. This is my generation with the Who. 1965. This is a late 70s, I think, or early 80s reissue on Virgin, mono edition, and it sounds great. Like really, 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 really good. I've read some reviews of this particular press, and I don't think that Lasse was so wrong with getting this back in the day, because it sounds really good. I don't know how well it would compare to a recent reissue, something like that, but I think that it gives the original press a run for its money. So talking about like strange pressings that he got that I have no idea, I would never buy these pressings. This is one of those examples where he got a John Coltrane, Art Blakey's Big Band and Quintet on Dole. And Dole is probably one of the most hated reissue labels there is. There's not any question about them having just ripped a CD off or something like that. Not only that, their artwork is so wrong on so many levels. First and foremost, this is not a John Coltrane record. This is an Art Blakey record that has Coltrane on it, which is cool, but it's totally wrong to put John Coltrane's name as the main bill here. You also have photos of, I think, the Blue Train sessions. And this record is not a Blue Note record. So the Blue Note photos on this are just so uncalled for. The only thing is that it's from 1957, just like Blue Train. So there's the label there. But again, listening to it, it's not that bad. It's not super like, I mean, I guess that there are definitely better pressings of this, but you shouldn't really judge a book by its cover, should you? I mean, I listened, sounds good. Not great, not awesome, but it sounds good. And now part of the collection. And the last one I'm going to show you today, but there will be a lot of Lasse's records coming up ahead. But this is also one that I had an original press of and that I sold because it's not my favorite record. Yardbirds, it's not my favorite sort of band. And he had some Yardbirds in his collection. But it's an iconic sort of... It's an iconic and important cultural artifact. So even if it's a Edsel sort of, I think, maybe mid-80s press of this with the yellow, pretty ugly cover artwork, sounds fine. And it is what it is. It's a great record. It's a great record. It's not the best record, but it's a great record. And I'm glad to add this again to the collection, but this time it's not going anywhere. Now it's like Lasse is a part of what's behind me now. And I think that's nice. So yeah, that's just some of the records that he had in his collection that I now acquired and are adding to my own collection. So as I said, we are going to see a lot more of his records coming forth. But I don't know if I'll do them separately or if I blend it with the stuff that I listen to, which includes my own sort of recent vinyl finds. I don't know. Time will tell, I guess. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Please give me comments if you have any questions and stuff like that, as usual. And I'll talk to you in my next video. Have a great day. Bye.